I'd like to see you with your notepad because you're going to get a lot of use out of that. So I'll briefly tell you how I came to this kind of stuff, very briefly. I'm 33-year-old now. I've been independently researching history and religion and culture since I was 14, so that's nearly 20 years. Before that, I grew up in the church. I've always been interested in history and knew the Bible very well growing up. So everything I've learned kind of come out of that and developed from that foundation. When I first kind of started doing my own research and study, I got very much into ancient cultures, ancient civilizations. That was what I was most interested in. One thing that I've always kind of looked into and tried to find out about is global civilizations and global cultures, things like Atlantis, just stories of ancient connectivity throughout the world. So everything I've kind of gone through has kind of reinforced that, and I've looked at it in many different lights throughout my time to get to the point I'm at today. So I've been through all the ancient alien stuff, Eric von Daniken, Zechariah Sitchin, Graham Hancock, all that kind of stuff, and that's kind of built onto the stuff I've gone through before, and eventually I kind of came to this 3 or 4 years ago. I came across a Japanese teacher called Hiroshi Hayashi, and he was showing some links between these guys, which are from ancient Sumeria, or pre-Sumerian culture in that area, and showing you how the same sculptures are found in Japan, in ancient Japan. And it kind of blew my mind a little bit, because some of these things were identical almost, the same symbols on these figures. And I just found it intriguing, and then I came across some other stuff from Eastern Europe that were very similar. And when I saw that, I thought, I know that there's ancient lost ruins in Japan under the water. Graham Hancock's did a TV series, a TV show about that. A site called Yonaguni, big megalithic underwater sunken structures. And I knew that the Sumerians and that they were building similar kind of huge structures. And I know that there's old overgrown pyramids in Eastern Europe as well. So I was then seeing, in China. So I'm seeing these wherever I was seeing these similar type of deities, we were seeing certain type of civilization and megalithic constructions. So I set out to make a list of all the places I could find these kind of images, and I wanted to see if they were building pyramids or big structures as well. And I found they weren't all building big structures, but what I found was no matter where you go in the world, the oldest artefacts that we're finding of sculptures are all of the same type of thing, and it's all this kind of guy. And this guy's my first slide because it was the first one I've come across. So this is kind of like the image to me that kind of sums up the whole thing. So we're going to go through every continent, every part of the world, and every centre of civilization where agriculture started, where social stratification, kingship, rulership, politics, religion, where all the centres where these things came from. We're going to look at every single place that I've been able to go through over the last couple of years, and look at the oldest sculptures and artefacts that are coming out of those places to show. I believe it's good evidence to show that there was a global culture, global religion that pretty much everybody was following at one point in history. I've got other opinions about the meaning of all this and the interpretation, but that's my opinions. So I'm going to just try and present the raw data to you, and you can make what you will of that. So these were just some Egyptian gods. I don't have too much to say because these come quite a lot later than the stuff I'm looking at. But learning about Egypt was a big part of my development when I was in my mid-teens. So yeah, we'll get right into the beginning. So this is the oldest, or it's believed by a team of scientists from Sweden, Oslo University, who discovered this site, which is in Botswana, and they believed it was the oldest site on Earth that they found that shows any kind of ritual or religious links. So what they found was this, they believe it's the carving of a snake. The local tribes people tell them it's a snake. They found, it's difficult to see on this image, but the markings on the body have been made with tools, and they can show that the scientists are satisfied that this was a man-made object.
Oh, the whole rock you're on about.
This whole,
Right,
it's a python in particular. You can see its mouth just here, and its eyes here. And there's scales carved into the whole thing. They even noted, because they camped out at this site, they noted that in the firelight it looked like the snake was moving. Now they found at this site arrowheads, and these arrowheads are Stone Age arrowheads. Most of the stuff we're going to look at today is from the Stone Age. They found that these arrowheads, none of them were of local manufacture, they were all exotic to this area, they were all from 100 or so miles away. And the ones that were coloured red were some red stones arrowheads that had been burned. So they believe that this shows ritual sacrifice of these tools and these objects to this snake god. The local tribe in the area, the San people, the Bushmen, they still have serpents in their creation mythology. I won't go too much into that, but this is the oldest site, 70,000 years ago in Botswana. There's a few other things that I will look at around the world that's like rock art. Most of the stuff we're going to look at is later than this, around 9,000, 8,000, 6,000 BC. So this is now going further north. I kind of tracked this on a geographical route. It's a little bit arbitrary, but I didn't know how to order this, the whole thing. So we're just kind of going to go north to North Africa and then out to the east and then back across to the west. So this is a culture from Egypt, what we know as Egypt now. It was pre-dynastic Egypt, before the pharaohs. So it's a culture called Makada, N-A-Q-A-D-A. Yes, Karen the late.
Sorry, mate. Sorry. I'm always late.
So yeah, this is about 4,000 BC. This is actually the Bronze Age. Again, it's a little bit later than most of the stuff we're going to be looking at. But we're seeing now, I'm going to show you and point out some of the symbolism on these objects that you see all over the world. So here we've got this very tall, to me looks like a reptilian, David Icke style reptilian. He's got a strange head shape, he's got these long slanted eyes, he's missing his arms, and he's got his penis on display. So it's a fertility cult, which I found all of these things have some links to fertility rituals, fertility religion. So there's a lot of mother goddesses linked with these snake men. This one almost looks like he's dressed in Egyptian clothing. He's got the headdress and the lower garment. This is from the same culture, Makada, 4000 BC-ish, southern Egypt. This one's got the tentacle style arms, which you'll see a lot of. It's got the same shaped head and the same slanted eyes. This is the same culture, Makada. It's got a triangular head, it's a different type, but again, these crop up everywhere. I call this the bearded man. He's got these strange hollow eyes, made of ivory.
It looks Norse, very Viking.
And you find this similar kind of style in Japan. You find it in Eastern Europe, you find it all over the place. But this is Egypt, pre-dynastic Egypt, same culture, Makada. You find a lot of these, this is the mother goddess side of it. She's still got these tentacle-shaped arms, she has oversized, slanted eyes, she's got a strange-shaped, elongated mouth, and these very wide lower body. There's a condition, called a medical condition called steatopygia, where the lower body gets a lot of fat deposits, more than what we normally see these days. But you find that type represented all over the ancient world with these mother goddesses that are linked to the serpent man. So this is the same culture, the Makada in Egypt. One interesting thing is the eyes again. some of these objects are seen with blue or white eyes, and a lot of them have hollow, empty, big, weird-looking eyes. You see, this female has got her hands across her abdomen. She's a mother goddess. The symbolism's plain to see. She's something to do with fertility. Again, the same culture, Nakada. This has the enlarged lower body. This is known as a mother goddess. It's some type of Venus sculpture, they call it. But again, it's got there's these two versions here. This one, and I think these two are the same thing. This one's got markings all over the body, which some people think of as tattoos, some people say it's scarification. But again, it's got the bird-shaped head, or the snake-shaped head, and the tentacle arms. So this is from a site called Tel Ramad, which is, I can't remember where, Syria. So it's about 8,000 BC, so this is very, very old. Early stages of what's called the Neolithic, which is the new Stone Age, when people started developing agriculture and pottery. And what you can see here, it's got these coffee bean shaped eyes on these beings, and the whole things look like phalluses. So there's almost like a double image. There's a face and a penis, basically. So it's showing the connection with this fertility rites. This is the same culture, Tel Ramad, 8,000 BC-ish. This one's really eroded, but it's seated, and it's got the hands across the abdomen like the woman we saw in Nakada in Egypt. I think the two women we saw in Nakada. So this is a little bit later. This is from a culture called the Yarmoukyan, which is from Syria. This is about 6,400 to 6,000 BC. It's got the conical head, pointed head. It's got the hands across the abdomen. It's a mother goddess, a Venus type. It's got the large thighs and the large hips, large legs. Definitely doesn't look human. Same culture, Yarmoukyan. It's got the coffee bean eyes, the triangular conical head, hands across the abdomen. I can't say what all of these symbols mean. I don't know if the hands on the abdomen is something to do with fertility or pregnancy or not. But I also know that they're in some of the like Eastern yogic qigong kind of practices as well. So this is a site called Tel Halaf, which again is Syria. That's about 6,000 BC. So it's got the very squashed, pinched head, elongated head, hands across the abdomen. It's another mother goddess.
That'll be stone.
Clay, ceramic. Yeah. Most of these are ceramics, so this is the same culture, Tel Halaf. Seated figure, hands across the abdomen, almost like it's praying or meditating or something. This is the Yarmoukyan. Yeah, I believe this is the Yarmoukyan. This is border, Israel-Syria border. Conical head, coffee bean eyes, hands across the abdomen. So now we're into what's called Ubaid. The first slide I had up was from this culture as well. These to me look very serpent-like, very draconic. Slanted eyes, they've got these elongated things on top of their heads. They all have these very broad shoulders, and they have these strange spots on the shoulders, which is something that comes up globally. As far as the New World even.
Would you say that's a woman or a man?
This is a female, it's got breasts and a vagina, and it's suckling the baby, which, yeah, it's all definitely. To me, there's no doubt that there's a serpent lizard quality about it. This is another female, it's got the breasts, the males don't have the breasts. Hands across the abdomen, very square shoulders, very slanted eyes, elongated head, spots on the shoulders. Same things, two mother goddesses, one with a baby, one without. The one on the right has painted spots and painted markings rather than sculpted. It's the mother and child image. This is the same as the first slide that I had up. It's the male. The phallic symbol is in his hand, and his penis is on display. He's got spots on his shoulders, coffee bean eyes, elongated head. You're going to hear me saying those phrases again. perspective, these are probably the idols that the biblical patriarchs were fighting against. Abraham was from Ur, which is this part of the world. This is probably the stuff that he was observing around him. This looks like Tel Halaf, which is in the wrong place. Oh no, this is a site called Ganjdari, which is in Iran, like 8000 BC again. This is the Samarian culture from Syria. So it's a neighbouring culture. It's not really a surprise to see all these cultures in the same area with the same kind of iconography. You'd expect it, some cultural diffusion, they're all a similar kind of time period. Same symbols though, the hands across the abdomen, very draconic face. Samarian culture, Syria. This looks all, you'll see shortly, this looks like Japanese stuff. Very, very similar. It's almost got this bird-like, owl-like head. But it has these spots all around its neck, shoulder region. I believe this is a female, because it looks like it has breasts. To me, there's a link between birds and these reptilians, and I think that's where the dragon symbolisms come from, because there's these bird-like qualities to these serpent-like beings.
Isn't there a lot of feathered serpents?
Well, that's it, and we've even found in modern science, modern paleology, dinosaurs were feathered, I believe now. So there's something, I believe there's a continuity, although some people might think it's two different things, a bird and a snake. I believe that the people who made these sculptures were trying to express this idea of a fusion between the two. I don't know if, I'm not sure about the ancient alien stuff, I don't know if they're trying to represent that these things came from the skies or they could fly or what, but there's no matter where you go, you see the two symbols alongside each other, the bird symbolism, the bird faces with the snake-like heads and snake-like bodies, like this one here, has a very serpent kind of like body. This is Ganjdari, which is Persia. It has these spots on the shoulders, the neck, it's got a necklace.
What do you think them spots represent?
I believe it's scales.
Right.
And there's a slide later on of a crocodile in Mexico, and its scales have been modelled just like this. So you'll see that. But it's got that same pointed face, very slanted eyes, almost a bird-like face, no hands, almost a snake-form body. And I believe that this is where the Naginis and the Nagins come from in the Indian mythology, which is like a serpent body with the head of a woman. We'll see some of those shortly. Again, another Syrian culture, I'll show some from this culture before, called the Samarian culture. Can't find it, but this is basically showing that sometimes these things were more humanoid, sometimes more anthropomorphic, they've got more of the animal element, but the symbolism's still there, the strange prominent eyes, the elongated heads, and the hands across the abdomens, still there, the symbols of the fertility cult. This is, Ganjdari, Persia again. I'm going to keep it like this, because I can see the titles of each book. This one's got no head, but it's clearly a fertility symbol. It's got large breasts and a large lower body of a childbearing woman. Okay, so now we're into India. This is the earliest sculpture making culture in India. It's called Mehrgarh, northern India. Began around 7000 BC and continued to about 2000 BC. So it's a very, very long-lasting culture. Went through several phases. This is around the middle of that kind of period, so about 3000 BCH. But it has that serpent-like body, the Nagini body. And it's got the hands, the arms that don't end in hands. I call this one Princess Leia because of these things at the side of the
You know that thing though, she's got a cross?
Yeah.
Doesn't that look like that little cave?
What's that? Is that a
That
Welsh
little
accent?
cave I showed you on my top, yeah. Looks just like it.
So I do think that there's things all over the world that you'll see. Like, you could probably show this to someone on the other side of the world and be like, oh, this looks like this in our culture, almost like the Egyptian collars.
Yeah, that's right. There's called the mold cave.
The face is similar to some of the other stuff we've seen. It's got these hollow eyes, these strange hollow eyes, and a pinched little face. So this is an earlier phase, I believe, in the same culture, showing the same mother goddess. Some scholars have labelled these as the goddess Saraswati, which is the Hindu mother goddess. And some of them in the Middle East are labelled as Astarte or Ishtar, which is the Mesopotamian mother goddess. I believe it's all the same archetypal mother goddess. So this has got, again, lack of hands, tentacle-like arms, big hollow empty eyes and an elongated head. Same thing, India. We see this little medallion she's got here. We're going to see that all over the world. Like a normal necklace with a circular medallion. Mother and child, owl-like head.
Lines on the wrists are quite significant.
Yeah, and you do see that again in
Sumerian.
you see this in Mexico. Now, this culture, Megar, did actually, they found evidence of trade with the Ubaidian, which is the pre-Sumerian, so that they know these two cultures did interact. So it's not a surprise to see some kind of cultural similarities.
And how long before the Bible are you saying in this book, sorry?
This is, so this is about 3,000–4,000 BC.
Alright,
So this is in the days of,
that looks like,
I don't know where that put it on a Bible timeline, maybe Abraham kind of times.
well, that's what I'm
Or
saying.
early
Is that walk around at this point, or is it not?
Babylon didn't exist.
Right.
Babylon after Sumeria, this is pre-Sumerian. Same mother goddess, same culture, probably a slightly different time period. We see the same symbols, the slanted eyes, the elongated faces of the baby, not looking very human. This female's actually got very sharp teeth. I don't know if you can see that. She's got that mold cape. I'm going to call it the mold cape from now on. This is a male who's got, to me, it looks like the solar symbol over his head. I don't know if it is or not. It's got the same symbols on. It's got these square shoulders, the hollow eyes, the elongated head. I like this one because it shows it's purely of Indian manufacture. It's seated in like a Vedic meditational posture, hands across the abdomen, legs crossed in the lotus position. So you do see, although it's representing what I consider to be a global culture, it's got local style to it.
How big is that? About 10 centimetres or something?
Yeah, 11 centimetres, yeah. A lot of these things are tiny, there's not many that are big. So this is a little compilation of some of the sculptures from these cultures, and you can see this format is basically how they depict later in Hindu culture, how they depict snake people, which they call nagas in India. And they depict them exactly like this one here, with the serpent-like body and the human-like head. But they all have these symbols, they all have the hands across the abdomen, mostly. They've got these big hollow eyes and these big long heads. This is the same place, the same site, but this is considered a different culture, a much later culture. This is about 1,500, 2,000 BC.
Or is it that one that you just, the third one on, don't you look Native American?
This one, to me, it looks Pacific. It looks some of the stuff you see from that part of the world. But it's the same thing, it's the mother goddess, mother and child. But here you see the styles become more humanoid, much more humanoid, but there's certain symbols that are still retained there. There's these strange eye shapes, strange head shapes, huge shoulders. And this is just for Dale. Dale said to me, what if they weren't very good at art? So this is to show, this is that same culture as that last slide. And they were very capable of accurately depicting things in the natural world. This is obviously an elephant. So I don't believe that these things are just poor sculptures of humans. People who study art, I found a lot of this stuff looking at art history. But people who study art and artists know that it's not always the most accurate depiction of something that conveys a message or conveys a feeling. Sometimes it's that rudimentary, simple, basic form, like these hollow, empty eyes that make you feel something,
Or if they were mass produced for everyone, they might be, do you know what I mean? Like
And that's a possibility. And you do find these, like, not stuff like this, you're not going to find many of. The idols that I'm showing you are everywhere. In these old sites, they often find them in people's houses. So it's like each house had these little household deities that look the same around the world.
So is it possible, that's what it is, but is it possible that they were just making their own for their own house? So it's not that they were technically
I
still
think
alive.
it's possible, but I think the experts believe that clay sculpting was a specialised industry. You get this, you don't get it earlier than this. You get it when, at a time in human history when humans have become more settled, not hunter-gathering anymore. You don't really see this in hunter-gatherer cultures. You get the mythology in hunter-gatherer cultures, but you see the sculptures where you get settled people, you get farming beginning, you get craftspeople. And so to me, I would lean towards the idea that these sculptures are made by craftspeople, because they're from the time in history when craftspeople have become a thing. They didn't really exist
So
before.
maybe, I'm not sorry, I'm
Go on, no, go
I
on.
was going to say maybe people went to them then and whatever they could afford was the kind of idol they were given. Like, oh, I can afford a penny, right, I'll give you a quick one then.
Well, you do, and you do see some big ones and some elaborate ones in some places. So this is Harappa, this is India again. I don't know if anyone's heard of Mohenjo-daro culture. This is later than Megham. It was once thought that this was the oldest culture in the world. But here you see it's become much more humanoid, but it's got those symbols. It's another goddess with the hands across the abdomen. This is from Harappa. I would say these aren't so humanoid, but they are in a way. They're a little bit different and a little bit anomalous to what I'm presenting today, but they still have large eyes and non-human kind of pointy faces. This is another Harappan Indian sculpture. Harappa was around, I'll give you the date for that. It's about 2600 BC.
Queen Elizabeth.
North India. She has a strange shaped head, the coffee green eyes, hands across the abdomen, and she's got this animal on her shoulder, which I think is a lizard. Well, it might not be. But I've seen similar things in India that Indians will tell you is a lizard, so yeah, that's what I'm leaning towards, that view, which I think is a reference. And you see this again in Turkey. I'll be showing that in a bit, that sometimes it's a snake-looking person, and sometimes it's a human with a snake on them somewhere to give a little reference to, I believe, what they were trying to get across. Same culture, this is Mohenjo-daro, northern India. They call this a mother goddess. She just looks like a dinosaur to me, but she's got hands across the abdomen again, pinched face, big eyes. Same culture, got owl-like head, owl-like eyes, a lack of arms. And she's got an evolved version of the mold cane. Definitely a mother goddess, very broad hips. Right, now we're going further east. There's a big gap from India all the way to China. Probably because all the land between them is jungle. And not a lot of artefacts last long in jungles.
Like Cambodia, Thailand, that's
There's not many artefacts. What you get from regions like that is
all very
stories.
similar, yeah.
You get stories, and you might get modern stuff, but it's hard. Like, yeah, there's not much very ancient Stone Age stuff that seems to have lasted.
How old is Cambodia though? What's it called? Angkor Wat.
I don't know what it says. I don't know. It's like 1000 BC.
Oh, so
It's not that old. Like, it's not like pyramids and stuff. I think it's dated similar time to like the Mexican civilizations. But yeah, so this is China. This is the earliest culture in China. This is called. There were two around the same time. This culture is called Penmaenmawr. They produce faces like this and sculptures like this. The man here is kneeling. He's more of a Eastern Chinese, Japanese kind of style. Hands on his lap. This is just a little intro to the Chinese stuff. This is right at the north of China, a culture called Hongshan. I found thousands and thousands of these jade artefacts. A lot of them have got like optical illusions in them. There's more than one image in the images. Hongshan is around 4700 BC it started, and it was going till about 2900 BC. They found some huge temples here, they found some huge statues of mother goddesses that are about 3 times the size of humans, but they were very humanoid, so they're not in this presentation. But you see again these same symbols that we've seen, hands across the abdomen, very strange eyes and head. I'm not sure exactly what to make of that one. Same culture, jade sculptures, Hongshan, we've got these elongated heads. You see the eyes of this being and they're the same as the eyes of this one. The one on the right is horned, it's like a goat's head. And you will see horns cropping up here and there. And I know in the Zulu culture in South Africa, they've got now David Icke did an interview with the Zulu shaman in the 90s, and it's really good, hours long, and the guy's just giving you all of the native African mythology around reptilians basically, and he says that the royalty of these beings all have horns. So you see this in some of the artwork, and apparently this is where the wearing of crowns comes from. It's to represent that kingship. So this is Hongshan, to see, but he's got the necklace of some sort, or a collar, got the hands across the abdomen, he's got this elongated head, and can't even make out the eyes there. This is another Hongshan, they call this the bull's head, although there's a double image because it's the man with the tentacle arms again, but there is a link with the horned animal, the bull. Oh, they could be phoenixes, they are. But there's a link again with the bird symbolism and the man with his tentacle arms and these big eyes, and he's got slanted eyes, but I don't think it's because he's Chinese. I think it's a symbol. So this is a sculpture from the same culture. Strange eyes, but I just wanted to put this in here to show that these people could make an accurate face. If they wanted to do a human face, which would have looked like this. So this is a culture where you first see dragons. I think it's the oldest dragon sculpture on earth come from this culture, Hongshan. This is called a sea dragon. They're made of jade. And they also have these pig dragons that look like this. They look like little embryos or tadpoles. I don't know why they call them pig dragons. It might be a snout. This is another pig dragon. I found it interesting because there's not many connections between pigs and dragons in the world.
When pigs can fly.
Apart from, well, maybe, but apart from, I don't know if anyone's familiar with some of the old British stories of King Lud, who was a British king who was meant to live about 2000 BC, and he had some problems in the land, and one of those was 2 dragons were having war with each other. So to catch these dragons, what he had to do was dig a pit, fill it with strong drink, and these 2 dragons appeared in the form of pigs. They drank and they fell asleep and he buried them. So it's just a weird link that in China they have these pig dragons, and in Britain we've got these idea of pigs and dragons being interchangeable over 2,000 years ago. Hongshan culture, this is a female, difficult to see, but she's got these Spider-Man-like eyes, and she does have the hands across the abdomen. Same again, Hongshan culture. This one doesn't have the hands across the abdomen, but that's because he doesn't have hands. He's got tentacles. And it's similar to what we've seen in Egypt, where they've got their tentacle arms up and down, and a lot of these sculptures have no arms at all. So this is a little bit later in China. This is a Bronze Age culture called Sanshandui. This is about 1700 BC up to 1150. Hands across his abdomen, they become much more human in form, but he's still got those symbols. He's in the same posture. His eyes are the same.
And it's definitely the Japanese where you get down on the knees.
Well, this is actually Chinese,
Well,
but it's that Eastern Oriental kind of seating posture. This is the same culture, Sanshandui. This is another early bronze dragon, which I believe shows a phallic connection to the dragon worship or the dragon mythology.
what is that?
What's that?
This it looks like something you pour water from.
I'm not sure exactly. I don't know if it's just a sculpture. Some of these things are pots and vases and same culture, Sanshandui, later China, 1700 BC-ish.
And what tools did they say they were making these with, or don't they?
Well, I'm not sure, but this is, at this point, this is Bronze Age culture. So they had metal tools that were used. Working with bronze, producing things like this. This guy's got very tentacle arms.
Very intricate though,
Yeah.
like,
The issue of that happens to the wings, it looks like the other side.
It could be, and I wouldn't say it's, as we're seeing, there's dragons mixed with, like I'm saying, there's snakes and birds mixed together, and some of these things are supposed to have a double connotation when you look at it. It doesn't mean just what it looks like sometimes, so it could be wings. But I see that as similar to these tentacle arms that you see all over the place. This is a bronze mask from the same culture, Sanshandui. Strangest thing about this is it's got this piece for the third eye missing from the head. This is the reverse, the inside, which to me is almost the face of one of these beings, these reptilian kind of David Icke style beings. Which I think is interesting that you can only see the image in reverse. From the front it looks a little bit nonsensical. From this side it looks like almost like a frog's face. And there's an Egyptian god, I wish I'd put it in here, but there's an Egyptian god called Heket, or a goddess. And she is a frog-headed woman, looks identical to this. And she's in fact where we're getting Wicca and witchcraft, Hecate, which is a female goddess that gives power.
it's not that hole in the top there.
I think
Like
it's,
that sun
well,
going
this
through
is
it.
again, Credo Mutsu in his interview with David Icke said, these beings have a third eye that can kill you if they look at you. Similar to the mythology of Medusa, who can turn people to stone by looking at them. She's got snake hair. So this is into Japan. I'm going to admit, I don't know, I've not been able to confirm if this is real or not. And it's the one sculpture in the whole presentation that I'm unable to confirm. It was apparently a museum in a place called Nagano, I believe, which is strange, it's got the word Naga in there, which is like the Indian snake people. But it was the Japanese teacher I mentioned earlier who I first saw showing this and linking it to the sculptures you see in Sumerian, or pre-Sumerian. So apparently this went missing in 2017. It's just a story I've read. I've not been able to dig deep enough to confirm if this is real or not. But I've put it in there because
Looks cool.
looks cool. There's Japanese people who believe this is an authentic Japanese sculpture. But it's in very traditional Japanese clothing, is seated in a Japanese posture.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's purely Japanese. It's, you know, like the one I showed you in India that's sat in a meditative posture, purely Indian. But it's expressing the same thing. It's got hands across the abdomen.
So it's their culture but still representing the same
And to
thing.
me, if this was a fake, someone would have to have intimate knowledge of these things, and I've not really come across anyone presenting this as a theory that all these things are the same around the world, and you know they'd have to have good knowledge of the symbols, and so it could be fake. I've not been able to confirm it. I think it's real. I buy it. So we're going to go a little further east now into Japan. This is the oldest culture in Japan. It's called the Jomon culture. The sculptures are called dogu. You see a lot of this stuff if you're into ancient aliens, ancient astronaut theory. You see a lot of stuff from this culture. I'm not going to be showing you that stuff because the stuff they show you is much later, and the stuff's become very elaborate and more stylized, and they've got these big, what look like space suits and goggles.
Is that the Dagon as well?
It's a similar word,
Yeah.
but this is Dagon was what, the Middle East.
Is that where they are?
Yeah, well, you're about Dogon.
Dogon, sorry.
That's Africa, West Africa. So the similar words, and that was another. I'm writing a book about this stuff, and one chapter is just purely going to be about the etymology of words, like words for priest, words for king, words for snake. Similar in all these languages, where you find these objects. For example, we have the word snake, and in the middle of that you've got the NAK, which is the same as the Naga, which is the same as the word king, K-I-N-G, it's got ng, in German it's König. And that's a whole other rabbit hole, I suppose. But yeah, you see, this is Japanese now, we're seeing arms out here, which could be seen as broad shoulders. I call this one the gingerbread man. But he's got this triangular shaped face, and he's got these spotty shoulders. If it's a man, it might be a woman, can't tell.
you know, go back to it a second. You know, the nose, it looks like someone's literally just gone with a finger and
Pinched it, yeah. So, and some people who analyse artwork and the history of art have believed that these things are made this way because it was the most simple way to make a face. But that doesn't explain all the other similarities of styles. It doesn't explain why there's spots on all the shoulders all around the world. Again, yeah, we've got, this is the same culture, Jomon. This is the Jomon, let's have a look where they start. So the Jomon period started in 7000 BC. You start seeing these sculptures around 5000 BC, which is again around the time agriculture started. This has got the slanted eyes, and it's not because he's Japanese.
It looks like a cat.
It's like a cat face, yeah.
It looks like a cat with
Yeah.
Japanese.
And it's the only one in the whole thing that looks like that. There's nothing else that looks like that. He's got 3 fingers, tentacle-like arm, and he's got spots on his shoulders. I don't know if you can see that.
They definitely look more like, you say, reptile scales than...
Again, this is the same culture, the Japanese dogu, the Jomon, the dogu from the Jomon culture. And it's got, this to me looks strikingly like some of the Eastern European stuff that we'll be looking at. Triangular head, possibly these could be slanted eyes. It's got no hands, but it has these spirals at the end of its arms, which to me could hint at these tentacle-like arms. And it's got the large thighs. I think this is a female. Same culture, Jomon, same symbols on it. 3 fingers, slanted eyes. This has got a toaster-like head like the cat one. Same shaped head, which is not something you really see in other places. They call this the Jomon Venus, and that's one thing that I think most people aren't aware of, which they probably should be, is that the mother goddess image is global. But what people who do know that generally don't know is that it appears alongside the snake gods, and the snake, usually the male is a serpent and the female is a serpent or a human. But yeah, again, she's got these symbols. She's got the slanted eyes, she lacks arms, and she's got the large low body, which is just a typical mother goddess. Same culture, Jomon. This looks like another one from Eastern Europe, but it's Japanese. And again, there are some links between Japanese and Eastern Europe and Russia. In the old days, the first wave of migrants to Japan are believed to have come from Russia.
And that looks like should on a necklace or something like that.
What with the ears, the
Hole
hole
in
in
the
there.
head, or a chin.
But it's got this sky-facing face. It's got the slanted eyes. It's got the lack of arms. It's another one from that same culture, the Jomon. Not sure exactly what time period it's from. This one looks like it has horns to me. And the face looks like something you'll see in the Mediterranean and Greek islands called the Cycladic culture. Again, this one looks similar in that triangular format, but it's got the very broad shoulders, which again is one of the symbols that Credo Mutwa, the Zulu shaman, said these beings have all got these huge shoulders. This one's from Akita in Japan. Same culture, the Jomon. There's absolutely loads of these things. There's no way I could have put everything in. There's some of these sites where there's literally thousands of these objects found. This one looks like a grey alien, and it looks like a gingerbread man again. Big shoulders, slanted eyes. I think this is the last one from the Jomon culture. He's got the tentacle hands, and he's got scales, and he's got a skyward facing face. Okay, sorry, no, this is still Japan. Similar one. Similar symbols, and a new symbol that's in this that will pop up in other places is this man who's kneeling and sat, often with his hands on his head or his hands like this, and they usually call it a thinker. So I know there's a thinker sculpture from ancient Greece that's quite famous, but they pop up all around the world. Same kind of thing from the Japanese Jomon.
Tin Man.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
This is going out to the Pacific. This is Papua New Guinea. It's very difficult to see. This is stone carving. Do they know the dates of these? This is around 1500 BC, they believe. But they're not sure because of how eroded it is. They know that people in this part of the world, in the islands in this region, were practicing agriculture from around 6000 BC. So to me this could be older than what they say it is. It's not been carbon dated, this is just estimated. Same Papua New Guinean sculpture, triangular face, mother goddess. You know, just make out the female parts on it. And this is Papua New Guinean. They don't know exactly what animal this is. It looks like a fusion of animals, the experts believe. I believe it's continuity of these things, and you find that whatever animals and wildlife are in the area that you find these beings, they seem to use those as the symbols to put onto
Where
these.
is that then? Sorry.
Papua New Guinea.
Where, sorry?
Papua New Guinea.
Where's that?
South Pacific Islands.
So one have
Yeah.
elements and
So that
Looks like an unseen.
yeah, I think what does it is.
no, that's right.
I've not got any notes on what they think it is and
It
why.
does look like that thing on Star Wars in Cantina playing.
Yeah, something like that. This is from Turkey, a site called Urfa. They call it the Urfa Man. This is the oldest sculpture of a male figure on Earth. It's around 9000 BC, which is contemporary with Göbekli Tepe. And he's got these hollow eyes, he's got the hands across his abdomen, and he's got this collar or necklace.
Looks like he's got two rings in his hands there.
Does, but I don't know what they are,
Yeah.
so I can't comment. This is from Göbekli Tepe, which is Turkey, around the same time period. Now this has that frog head that I meant that I was saying. I believe the inside of that Chinese mask looks to me like a frog face, which links to the Egyptian goddess of magic. This frog man has his arms coming down here and is holding on to another person here, who's holding on to another person here, who's holding on to another person here. I believe these are symbols of ownership or possibly possession, maybe spirit possession. You do see some of these things occurring with like shamanic cultures, and in that context, they believe that these beings are possessing them and speaking through them, just like oracles in the old world, and even in parts of the modern world. I know in parts of West Africa and in Americas where they practice voodoo, they will have a box with a python in it, and the priest or the shaman will stand on that box and channel messages from the spirits through that. So I believe that that's what you see in here. I can't say for certain, that's just my hunch. And you have the two snakes flanking each side. This is one side, that's what it looks like from the middle, and this is the opposite side. And you have these snakes running down each side.
And are these small again, are they? Like,
Oh, and I didn't find out how big this was, to be honest.
it's how can you get like a total?
It's Göbekli Tepe, so it could be big, I don't know. Strangely, there's not much from Göbekli Tepe that has anything to do with reptiles, lizards or snakes. But all of those big, if you're familiar with the site, they have these big T-shaped megaliths that are rich with carvings, but they're all actually humanoid carvings. They don't look like it at first. When you look at them, they've got hands across their abdomen like this, and they have these little thin faces. Very similar to Easter Island kind of statues.
Well, very similar to all these shows.
All of them, yeah. So this is again another Turkish site. This one's called Haçlılar Hoyuk. Where are we? 7000 BC-ish. 7400 BC. They found a lot of these houses were like almost to a modern standard. They were plastered inside and really well tiled. But it's got the same symbols. It's got this pinched head, pinched face, the hollow eyes, hands across the abdomen, the large lower body. Haçlılar Hoyuk. It's a mother goddess, very big slanted eyes. These are the dates for it. Now they call this a Grimaldi, which they used to believe that there was I think some people still do, that in old Europe there was this ethnic group. I don't know if it's an ethnic group or not, but it's like a branch of humans that look like this. And they believe that because of these sculptures that they find all across old Europe. But what I'm finding now is it's not limited to Europe. This is global. So it's not that to me it's not an ethnic group. To me it's a symbol for something. And that symbol is partly fertility, motherhood. another one from the same place. Hoyuk. This one, it might be difficult to see, look at the eyes now and the face. Almost non-human, but very human. This one she was intertwined with a lover, and here is his buttocks. The rest of him's broken away. Don't know if you can make that out. Same culture, Hoyuk. Hands across the abdomen, triangular, conical head, and she's marked with the scars or tattoos or scales. Who knows?
So very aboriginal,
And you see almost identical stuff to this in Mexico, very weirdly. I was laying down in bed last night and all I could see were these pictures. We're looking at them that much. This is Çatalhöyük, which is a nearby site in Turkey. She's got the lack of hands, large lower body, and the strange eyes, Spider-Man style eyes. Çatalhöyük, again, another similar image to what we saw before of the hands on top of another being, denoting ownership or possession or control. It's another Turkish site, it's called Koshhöyük. To me this looks almost African. She's got an elongated head. There's a tribe in Africa called the Manbetu, and their heads look just like that. They're elongated. Yeah, they bind their heads with wooden boards and that, yeah, and create these head shapes. They say that they do that to mimic their gods, or their teachers, or their ancestors. But she's got these eyes, she's got the hands across the abdomen, she has the large lower body.
like the Egyptian as well, with their big heads.
Yeah, the headdresses. And we see it all across, that symbol all across the modern world. We see it with wizards, have a large pointy hat. We see it with popes, we see it with all sorts. A lot of religious elders will have a long pointed hat. It's the same figure, different angle. Okay, so now this is much later. This is the Hittites, which were a very large, powerful civilization around Turkey. 1800 BC to 1150 BC. And this is I call it the wizard. But if you look, the conical head's become a hat. And the only thing to reference a serpent is his staff, which is in the form of a snake, just like Moses, who could turn his staff into a snake, and who set up a bronze serpent on a staff to heal people. And he's got this strange snake-like feet, like Aladdin slippers.
We always stand up, isn't it?
Well, I don't know if he is standing or if he's leaning against someone. So this is one of the sculptures that they believe is a sculpture of the goddess Astarte, which is Ishtar, which is Isis, which is the archetype of the goddess. The only thing to link her with this stuff is that she's got her hands across the abdomen, broad shoulders, and she has a snake coiling around the neck. And there's many pictures of Ishtar Astarte with serpents.
Cleopatra,
Which poisons someone with a serpent.
herself with us.
Yes, yeah, something like that. Now this is also an Astarte from the same culture. The scholars believe that this is the same goddess as this. Here she's in a human form, here she clearly isn't. She's got these owl-like eyes, elongated head, necklace, hands. The necklace here is a necklace, here it's a serpent.
The hands are moved as well, they're now covering the wrists instead of the background.
But we're all in that region. I think this face looks very similar to some of the stuff from India. This calls the double Astarte. I don't know if it is or isn't, it's too eroded to see, but they're clearly like not quite human shaped faces. Same again, they don't call this one an Astarte, but to me it's identical to these. It must be the same thing. And again, it's got those eyes that they were doing in India, in Meghalaya, which again isn't unusual. This is Syria into India, is not that far. This is more of a basic one, so the artists weren't all up to the same standard, as you can see. So here we're going to the Eastern Europe, we're going north from Turkey. This is Serbia, a culture called the Vinca culture, V-I-N-C-A, the C's got a little squiggle underneath it. This is about 5,400 BC to 4,500 BC, so it's around 1,000 years this culture was going. And this is the third, it was the Middle East, the Japanese, and then this one that really got me thinking that there's something going on here. When I'm seeing all these very similar faces, there's A lot of styles here that are very similar to the Japanese. So again, Serbia, Eastern Europe, these triangular faces, these large lower bodies, the hands across the abdomen, very broad shoulders, not quite human. I think that's the same guy. This is from the Vinci. Just looks like an anime dragon person to me. Oh, come on. Vinci culture. It's got the slanted eyes, the triangular face, and the lack of arms. Maybe this is where busts come from, I don't know. This one is almost identical to some of the ones from Japan. Very large lower body, hands across the abdomen, skyward facing face.
Right, do you know when you're saying these are similar to ones, are they from the same time period then?
So,
these were much later?
so the Jomon, basically, same time
Same
period.
time, so yeah.
The Jomon was about, I think they were making sculptures like this around 5000 BC, and this is about 5000 BC.
So I'm just saying,
So it's not a slow cultural diffusion, which academics could possibly accept.
People travelling.
This is like suddenly in Japan, in the Middle East, in Eastern Europe, and other places. These things just pop up all around the same time, and it occurs with, like I said, the same time humans begin farming, the same time we develop kingship, the same time we start offering sacrifices, and basically as we're building civilization, you start seeing these sculptures popping up. Same one, this one's got the necklace with the medallion on it. They almost like cartoon characters, some of them. They're very clearly very artistic, that they're supposed to convey more than just physical meaning. They give an impression, they give you a feeling when you look at them. This one has the owl eyes and the owl face, and again it's similar to some of them from Japan. Hands across the abdomen or possibly just on the hips. I'm saying abdomen because it fits my theory. Vinci, again, there's loads from this culture, absolutely loads. Strange markings on the body. Mother goddess cult. Body's in the same position, face is the same shape. Again, Eastern Europe, which to me looks almost identical to some of them from India, from Mergar, with the curled hair at the sides and the snake form body.
You know what they look like? They look like they didn't have a candle on it, like an altar or something. You know, like where you sit and pray or something. I don't know. That's. Do you know the shape of this?
I'm just going to quickly pull up one from India just so you can see the parallels. So, you know, you can see these are Indian. And then this is Eastern Europe around the same time period. And they've just popped up almost the exact same sculpture in two very distant, not that distant, but very distant. You know, it's for the technology we believe people had back then. You couldn't just go over and quickly from Serbia to India and show them your goddesses and it catch on like that. Same culture, Eastern Europe, Serbia, Vinci. I don't really know what this is. I don't know if it's the same thing, but you do see some similar stuff to this in the Americas, so I've included it just to show cultural continuity. Has anybody ever watched Adventure Time? I think this is like Finding Human in Adventure Time. Yeah, again you'll see some of these similar things, similar looking things to that. It's almost got the same shaped head as some of the Japanese that had, like the cat face one had a very similar shaped head to this. Okay, so this is Cucuteni Tripilia, I think is that. Romania. So this culture was over part of Moldova, Ukraine and Romania, all around the Carpathian Mountains, and this is 3,500 to 2,750 BC. This culture, they found the oldest potter's wheel ever found in the world. So, very old potter's wheel. They were making these on the potter's wheels by the look of it. These mother goddesses, they're very similar to what you find again everywhere we've looked, these mother and child. These ones have very much more bird-like heads. I think we've seen that one already, a different version of it. same culture, another style. This one looks a little bit more like what you see from the Yarmoukhian culture, which was Syria, Iraq, pre-Sumeria. No arms, elongated heads, very slanted eyes, large lower bodies. This one, I don't know if these are scales or scars or tattoos. I think the scholars believe this is scars or tattoos. The one on the left here has a cord wrapped around its body or a rope, but it could be a snake. As we've seen, some of the snake in the necklace is interchangeable. So, pinched head or a lack of a face. Steatopygic lower body, large lower body, and both naked, which show fertility, religion, links. Same place, Kuteni culture. Some of these are the more owl-like faces. Again, they lack arms. Now this is a culture called the Penmaenmawr, which is from Bulgaria, and that is 4,700 BC to 4,000 BC. At this point, this culture used copper, which is early, very early for.
I was just about to say that's quite interesting that you mentioned this copper, because the first thing I thought looking at the bracelet is to signify copper.
I've never even noticed that, to be honest.
And that
Doesn't
that's
look
why
like
it's
copper.
quite a common thing as well.
Oxidized copper. This is one of this. They call this the thinker of Arpesti. So this is Bulgarian region. Very long arms, very long head.
Neck, isn't it? Like, yeah.
It's a neck head.
Yeah.
Call him neck.
Almost like a screen picture.
Yes. The Bumakape, whatever it is. This is the same culture. They believe that these are scars on this one, but the face looks monstrous. Sharp
It's
teeth,
like Silent Hill, that
Yeah.
film. Yeah.
long head, no arms. Same culture. These are more stylized, and these look to me identical to. I'm gonna have to pull it up because I'm like that. So what they find in China, these things, and they found a lot of these. It's like a jade mask. These heads to me look very similar to that, particularly this one down here. Same shape, the one on the left here.
It's all the holes though, but surely that makes it like structurally weaker than if they didn't put the holes in. Do you know if that makes sense?
And then you can see on this top one, it's broken on one of the holes, you know. So it's for a reason. The holes are there for a reason. Whatever that reason is, I don't know. But they're all lacking their arms again. Mother goddesses with no arms. You know it's a mother goddess because of the triangle shape in the pelvic region. These are called the Penmaenmawr lovers. You can see one's a male and this one's a female. They have the hands across their abdomens, triangular shaped head, similar to what you've seen in Serbia, which isn't far. It's all kind of a continuous culture. And that's that's the biggest difference I notice is regional styles. So this to me, I've got to a point now I can look at something and be like, oh, that looks Eastern European or that looks Mexican or. So yeah, it's following those styles. This is another one from the same culture, the Penmaenmawr, Bulgaria. Very owl-like face, but the eyes themselves are not owl-like, they're more slanted. And I don't know if anyone's ever been to Turkey, but you see in Turkey, if you've ever been on holiday, you'll see they sell these little eye, like a pair of eyes is like a lucky charm, and they're everywhere. And I went to a museum in Turkey once, and they call them eye idols, and they're absolutely everywhere, filling up these cabinets.
Is
There's
that
no
like
end to
eagle
it.
eye thing or not?
Basically, yeah, it's the eagle eye, yeah. Or they have these charms to protect from the evil eye. But I believe that this kind of thing, and the owl, particularly the ones that look like owls, are the origins of those eye idols.
And them eyes painted because they look black.
Looks like it. I don't know, I've not done enough. I've really, so far, in what I've been writing, I've focused more on, or I've only got as far as Middle East, India, China, Japan. I'm starting on Eastern Europe now, so, you know, I'm digging up those kind of facts soon. Same culture, Penmaenmawr. Very much more stylized and abstract, getting more artistic, but it's the same thing. See, this guy guy down here is from the same culture. This is almost like what you're seeing in the Middle East, but with the local style, with these holes on the head, the sides of the head, and little pointy beaks. This is from Ukraine, a site called Penmaenmawr. This looks like the one I showed you from Egypt right at the beginning, the bearded man. It's quite
Celtic.
yeah.
Orangutan.
Orangutan. Is it the colour? Well, he's got the pointed head, he's got the hands across the abdomen, and it's from this same park where they find all these very old stone sculptures. They believe that these are about 1000 BC. Some people believe they're older. Some people believe that they were recarved from older sculptures. This is all the same place. It's called Lugansk Museum Park. This is Ukraine, the same culture, Penmaenmawr, and they call it a fish head. Some scholars call this a snake head. And it almost looks like that's a giant snake in the cave in Botswana from the beginning.
And that giant, I was going to say, you know that giant snake cave? That reminded me when you go to Thailand and all that.
No,
It's massive.
Yeah, but all the way
Yeah,
inside
yeah.
the tentacles. I do have some pictures that my friend Max, who travelled to Thailand, he took pictures of anything to do with Nagas, because he was interested in. It's like the Mayan temples, how the dragons go all the way up the edges of the pyramids.
I've been to a place actually, sorry to like, but they say that it's like
What do you want to do with stuff?
No, this is just one time a year, they have this orb that comes out of the Mekong River and they say it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
the
The
dragons.
dragons.
Crazy to see, because like there's no explanation for it.
That's what I find is when I'm looking at this stuff in places like that, where there's jungles, there's less artefacts, but there's more of a living tradition, stories, myths. So this is Ukrainian. The scholars say this is a snake idol. I wouldn't have thought that looking at it, but they found I think 3 of these in the same place, and they looked at them all and they said they've clearly been marked by humans, and they believe that they were originally snakes. Now this is the one I was on about earlier, the Greek Cycladic culture. When's this? This is 3100 BC to 1000 BC. Oh, in fact, before I go here, there's a note I missed on the Ukrainian stuff. So in Ukraine, they've got these ancient earthworks, and the Ukrainians call them serpent walls, and they're almost like what we have is like dikes over here. Similar kind of thing. Prehistoric earthworks. Not sure why they call them serpent walls, but they stretch for over 620 miles, this network of earthworks in Ukraine. So there's a connection there with the ancient megalithic builders and the snakes. So yeah, on into Greece, 3000 BC. These are found on a few different islands, Santorini, Mykonos and a few others. But they all have the same symbols. They've got the triangular shaped head, they've got the broad shoulders and the hands across their abdomen. It's almost like a serpent-like head, it's that thin. This one's in the Ashmolean Museum. Like I said, there was the one earlier I couldn't confirm it was real. Most of these things, I find out where the image is from. I've got notes somewhere of what museum these things are kept in or what collection. So if anyone does want to know, it's all there. It's verifiable. These are much more humanoid, but it's obviously the same things as these. This is much more abstract, but it's the same thing. This is from Crete, a site called Penmaenmawr. Not sofas for pets, but it's just called Penmaenmawr. I don't know what it means. This is a snake with legs, I think. It's not a dog or anything. It's a lizard or a snake with legs, and it's got a person with the hands across the body.
Like an octopus.
Take similar to Chinese dragons if you look
Yeah,
at
well, very
that.
similar. So I think this site is around 1400 BC, although this culture was going a lot longer, about 3000 BC. So you went to, this is still Crete. Sorry, is that Crete or Cyprus? One of them two. This is Crete, and it's almost the same as what you're seeing across Eastern Europe, India, Japan in some cases. Face is like, you've seen it 100 times by now, I think. Mother Goddess, it's eroded, so it's difficult to see. These are also from Malta, one of the goddesses, the Grimaldi type as they call it. Skyward facing faces, and you never wonder what they're looking for or waiting for. Hands across their abdomen mostly. This is from an island called Aya Irini, which is a Greek island. They found hundreds of these things altogether. Hundreds. And if you look, some of them are horned. Most of them have elongated heads. Many of them have the hands across the chest or the abdomen.
Is this how we found all together like
I
this?
don't think so. I think this has been. I'm not sure. I couldn't say. I don't think so.
You've got one down at the bottom left there, or the front.
The horns
that
there.
one, yeah.
Owl-shaped eyes.
The one next to it.
The pink dragon, yeah. And you see a certain number of animals that seem to be related and fused in these things, and it's snake, bird, and a bull, a horned animal, or sometimes a stag or whatever, yeah. And sometimes it's an elephant. I've had an Indian guy once tell me that Ganesh, the elephant-headed god, is actually a snake god, because the trunk is synonymous with a serpent. Also, he's a mushroom god. The same guy told me Ganesh is a magic mushroom god, which is indicated by his umbrella that he has, which is the shape of a liberty cap mushroom.
And some say that is the phallus worship, the worshipping the mushroom god.
That was John Allegra.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a little bit different, a bit of cave art for you. This is from Italy, a site called Grotta della Daura. This is believed to be 30,000 years old. This is very, very ancient. This is, I don't know if it's early Stone Age or Middle Stone Age, but it's these certainly non-human figures carved into this cave wall. There's 3 caves all in a row. I don't think they found any artefacts in there, they just found these carvings on the wall. Some of these look very human, like this guy in the middle looks very human.
Do you know what they look like as an artist though? Do you know when you're practicing poses and you've got them wooden models? That's what it looks like.
Some of them just don't have heads that represent anything human. The profile of this head looks like the Egyptian goddess Heket, the frog-headed god. Same kind of thing here, or a dog or a frog. And I know in Islamic culture they say that jinn appear either as black snakes or as dogs. So there's a link there. Now this is from Spain. This is a cave painting from Spain. And I see that the animals are very naturalistic, but then you have these. Where is this from? This is 20,000 BC. So you've got these broad-shouldered, tentacle-armed, pinched-faced beings with spots across the shoulders, which to me is crazy to see it.
Because why would they represent themselves with white hair like that?
So I know like people like Graham Hancock will say this is shamanic, but when there's a continuity of these things all across the world, I know that some people would argue that it's a psychological archetype, but where does that come from? Why does it take the shape it takes and the forms it takes? If it is all from the human psyche, why is it that in vastly different parts of the world, with people in different places and different experiences, they're coming out with the same images, the same shapes? Here there's humans, so we know that they're not depicting humans at the top there. These humans have obviously hunted this animal. One thing I find funny about this and a little interesting is it's got this link with these, what some people call extraterrestrials, and cattle. And we know in modern times a lot of the stories of alien encounters, they massacre cows.
Can you zoom in on the bottom of the picture? Sorry, like there.
So this
It's
is,
mad how the animals are getting smaller the bigger.
and here it's small, here with the humans everything's small. I'm not an art critic, but I find it interesting. Same cave system, Altamira in Spain. This one is horned, and they have halos, and they depict with the cattle again, with the horned beings, the cows. a Japanese or Chinese goddess. There's a pair, a male and a female god and goddess with these serpent-like lower bodies. There's also similar things in Mexico. So we're going to go do West Africa briefly, the Dogon tribe. I don't know if anyone knows about the Dogon tribe, but they're very interesting. They're from a country called Mali. They have this elaborate mythology about beings coming from the sky, landing in water, and emerging from the water to teach humankind science, maths, astronomy, language, all the things. All these cultures seem to have similar mythology around
Is it
this.
serious? Didn't they know serious?
They knew
was
it,
there before?
it was called Sirius B. It was a twin star to Sirius A. You can't see it with the naked eye, but this tribe was aware of this star, and they said the gods came from this star. This is I think about 50 years before Europeans were aware of this star. This tribe that don't have telescopes were aware of it and tracked it and described it to Europeans. So this tribe, it's an interesting one, and they've been carving these sculptures for at least 1,000 years. And these, I believe, are their gods. They call them the Nomo. They're not really gods. They're like demigods or angel type things, angel demon type things. This guy's obviously snake-like in form, and he has the pointed chin, which is quite common, which I believe is where the Egyptian pharaoh got his beard from. Same again, the Dogon of Mali, he's got the coffee bean eyes, the purple hat, his hands across his abdomen, and his cedars. Possibly a woman. This is a female from Mali, from Jenny. She has the markings all over her body, she has the snake around her neck, just like the Ishtars of the Middle East. And she's sat in that Japanese, Chinese seating posture.
Is there like snake bites all over it? That might be what it's representing.
There is in India, they say that if you were bitten by a snake, you go to the temple of the Nagas, the snake people, and you look at the idol and you will be healed. Similar to how in the Bible, when the Israelites were in the desert all getting bitten by the fiery serpents, Moses was told to put a statue of a serpent, a bronze serpent, on a staff, and whoever looked at it would be healed from the snake bites. So there is very, to me, it's a good chance that these things could be to heal snake bites.
You think that's where the Caduceus?
It is apparent where the Caduceus comes from, some people say. Although it's meant to be Hermes as well.
No, what is his name?
Asclepius, yeah. But the wings on it are meant to be something to do with Hermes, because he had wings on his feet.
No, Hermes is the other staff, Caduceus.
Yeah, that's what you want.
No, it's two different staffs. The one he's on about is the one where it's a single serpent.
Yeah.
The Caduceus is where it's a
The
double
twin.
serpent.
Yeah, it's not healing, is it?
No, they should be referenced death.
It is actually the reason that it's not twin is it's panacea and poison. So one is
Life and
medicine,
death.
one is poison.
Well, that's what pharmacology means, you poison, doesn't it?
Yeah, but that's exactly the point. It's meaning that we use poisons in certain dosages to heal people.
Which is similar to the opposite, the duality of the snake and the bird. You know, the ground dweller and the sky dweller, the angels and the demons. So again here we've got a female, one of these West African sculptures, hands across the abdomen. This stuff's not that old, this stuff's about 500 years old, some of it's more recent. But the culture's still, like the religion is no different from 9000 BC in the Middle East, it's all continuous. So I'm not trying to claim that these reptilian men are among us and they're like telling everybody, you know, revealing themselves to people, people carving their image. Something otherworldly about it. It's
Well, what do the mainstream actually say why they're so similar? Do you know?
there's no acknowledgement from the mainstream that these things are similar. And as far as I'm aware, no one's put all of this stuff together. You get the odd fringe researcher who will say, like I say, the Japanese guy says, the stuff in Japan is similar to the stuff in the Middle East. You might get someone who will compare two or three cultures. No one's looking at it as a... I mean, you do have come across a couple of people who've looked at it globally, but they're very much like out there, conspiracy theory, like there's not much they're not presenting it in a way that an academic could accept. So it doesn't get listened to. It just, no one's aware of that. Although they have the bang on the button most of the time. Although they will use a lot of images that are not, you can't find the origins for the images that they'll use. So people discredit it that way. So I've made sure that everything that I've got here, minus the one I mentioned, these are all in museums, these are all in collections, these are all been looked at and interpreted by scholars and dated. Same culture, this is very similar to the ones from Egypt, with the arms raised, tentacle-like arms, long head. Same cultures,
That looks like them mummies they found, do you know when they're in that sort of position? I think they're in
theory
the
position, yeah.
with the red hair.
And you do find a link with mummification, also with human sacrifice in cultures where you find these. Same guy, and I believe that this one is, I get a feeling from it that this is something to do with snake bites or an illness that has to be cured. Something like that, skin problem. And he's got the lower spike on his chin, or maybe it's his tongue sticking out, I'm not sure. Right, so now we're going to zoom across the Atlantic Ocean, and we're going to be in the Caribbean. This is the first people in the Caribbean that really produced much sculpture, called the Tainos. Where are we here? So this is about, I think about 1000 BC up to about 500 AD. The Tainos were around that area, influencing the culture. This is from Dominican Republic. And you'll see there is a double image that we saw in China, the Hongshan bullhead. It's got an analogue here. It's these tentacle-like things here, and there's a person and a head there. It's
And even two balls at the bottom.
there's multiple things within one, and it does look like some of the stuff from Japan and China. It's carved out of jade, like the stuff in.
It's jade easy to carve out, I know, you probably don't know.
I have actually. I've listened to talks about the hardness of jade and the quality of it, so I should know, but I can't remember.
Generally, it's quite hard to sculpt out of.
So the cultures that were making this stuff were suddenly more advanced than the people around them. And they were doing things, you find, like say, you find pyramids, you find, in India, the culture I was showing you there with the big heads and they've all got big heads in it. They found evidence of tooth fillings in India in like 6,000 years ago. So they were not primitive people suddenly.
I was going to say, it's from nothing straight to these models.
Yeah, basically. I mean, there's rudimentary stuff from before, but none of it's abstract in this way. None of it. It's human. You find the occasional, I was looking for stuff in Britain. Can't find anything from this kind of time period. The oldest image from Britain, interestingly, is a horse. A horse carved onto a piece of bone. I think it was from a place called Cresswell Crags. Which I found interesting because I know there's old earthwork of a horse carved into the British landscape somewhere, yeah. So it doesn't look like this was in Britain here at this stage, although it came later, probably when the Syrian and Turkish were coming here 3,000 years ago. So this is a big goggly-eyed Taino sculpture from Dominican Republic. And this doesn't look like a Native American, this looks like a European to me. Something like that.
The helmets they use.
And the moustache. The Native Americans can't wear moustaches. This guy looks like he's got. It's just a fact, man. They can't. This guy looks like he's got a little handlebar going on here with his cone head and his big eyes. So this is Dominican Republic. It's a dolmen. I just want to show it alongside these things because it's not something anybody thinks of as existing in the Caribbean and in the New World. But it's there, same as it's all across Europe. You find these things all across Africa and Asia.
How old is that going to be then?
They say it's 200 BC.
Alright.
But I don't know how you're going to date this. This is based on what they currently believe. The date is often based on what they believe as the diffusion of people throughout the Caribbean. They don't believe it's older because they don't believe the people before were capable of doing this. So I'm presenting you with the accepted dates.
Yeah.
I don't agree with most of these dates for things like this.
There's a couple of them up on the mountain, there's one on the way to the Penmaenmawr. I don't know what they're meant to be, but it's very similar to that.
You find them all over Britain, like I say, all over Europe, Africa, Asia.
Well, I know of two definitely with that mountain, one inside Caliban, one on the road. I bet there's a lot more of that.
It's the same cave sculptures, cave carvings from Dominican Republic showing the same things. The reason I'm showing you the Caribbean is I was challenging myself because I've not heard of any old history from the Caribbean. And I thought, you know, if these things, when I'm finding that they're everywhere, I thought, let me see if I can find it here. Which is where my dad's side of the family's from Barbados. And I was surprised I actually found quite a wealth of things from the Caribbean. So now we're into Jamaica. And these things are carved onto stalagmites in caves that were used by the Taino people. I think some of the landowners of these caves, when researchers have come and taken pictures of this stuff, some of the landowners were aware that these were used by the natives before the Europeans came to the Caribbean. So again, we've got these eyes that are similar to what you see in India and Japan.
That looks very similar to some paintings that I've seen from Africa.
Yeah.
They were Brazilians.
They've got all the same shared symbols, so to me it should do.
But when did they say Jamaica was first inhabited?
So there is, let's have a look, I've got it written down. So there's I think 4 or 5 waves of inhabitation into that part of the world. Some have come out, I think the early ones came out of Central America and the later ones came out of South America, Brazil. I think they go back 5,000 BC are the earliest evidence of human habitation. So to me, this stuff could be from that time period. They date it later because they know that the Tainos who came later, around 1000 BC, they knew that they were making sculptures. So they attribute this to the Tainos because the Tainos would carve actually, the first things I showed you were like jade carvings. They know a Taino. This, they believe is Taino, but they don't really know. It's got these strange eyes. Something about the eyes. Another one from Jamaica. This one looks like Admiral Akbar from Star Wars to me.
It was a trap.
It's a trap. Don't need to say too much about that. It's just, I don't know.
Is that just on a cave, like wall, like
Stalagmite. So they fashion the stalagmites into sculptures, the same as that one.
Yeah, because that's definitely not natural, is it?
It's
Semi-natural.
natural and then
No,
they've
yeah,
enhanced
yeah.
it, you know. This is from Jamaica, these bird-headed gods, or possibly, I know some people would say that the shamans will have sticks, possibly for hunting, I don't know, possibly. This is turtle moon. So this is what I was saying, how they're in different areas where they have different things around them, they'll use the animals and plants around them to express the same idea. The turtle's a reptile. These are how they draw turtles. And this is how they draw the turtle man. It was
That looks like a monkey though.
with the ears, yeah.
Yeah.
Monkey, turtle, the monkey and reptile and the modern human, didn't it?
Well, it's funny you say that because as far as the human brain goes,
There's a mammalian and a reptilian.
Yeah.
So these are eye idols. This is like the eye idols you'll see in Turkey.
How much is this Jamaica?
This is Haiti.
Oh, yeah.
The last one. These are Puerto Rico, I think. This is Haiti. But you're seeing the same things as you see in the old world.
So that one top left, that's very similar, isn't it, to the coffee bean eye?
Yeah, this is almost like one of the Japanese, the dogu. And then you've got this guy down here with his triangle-shaped head who's,
It's like he's praying.
I want to say he's had too much to drink. This is a bigger image, and it's got a wizard in the middle with his conical hat and lots of these eyes around him. Now we're into Central America. I've got 18 minutes until I've got to go, so we're getting there, don't dragon face around 1000 BC, El Salvador. We've got a name for the culture. If anyone's interested in any of these things, just ask me afterwards and I'll go into more details. Another one from El Salvador. So you see again the conical head, spots on the shoulders. Why they decided to do this on the opposite side of the world, I'm not sure. So yeah, so we've got for these in fact. Salvador. This is about 2000 BC. So it is feasible that it popped up in the Middle East, maybe it said Eastern Europe, and it came across here. But academics don't accept that this was happening 2000 BC, that people were crossing the Atlantic or the Pacific. This is from Ecuador, from the collection of a priest called Father Crespi, who had all these crazy gold plates with all these mad carvings on them. But he's got the same necklace, and that's about it for that one. This is Ecuadorian Mother Goddess. I don't know if she's got a long neck or a long head, or if that's just a bad wig.
Like the Egyptian hair again.
Yeah, very similar to Egyptian style, and she's got the hands across the abdomen. This is Ecuador.
That's not like deep sea dive.
It doesn't look human. The head shape. Yeah, it looks like an underwater submersible. I'm not really into the ancient alien stuff too much. I used to be, but some of it does look like modern space equipment and advanced technology. I can't deny that. These are from a cave that, again, I'll admit, isn't verified as an archaeological. As these objects aren't verified as being real. Sorry. The cave was discovered apparently in the 50s, and a man said that he went in and he found all these treasures, and he kept it secret for years. Over the next few decades, people kept trying to find this cave of lost riches and gold, and the local tribe was very hostile. They've attacked people who tried to go there. Eventually, I think about 10 years ago, a team went there, finally fully excavated this cave, and they found that it was used as a burial site. They found that there were things there, but they weren't. These carvings were not to be found. These are from the first guy who claimed to have been there and took them out. Got this snake-like being here, and this long-faced reptilian-like man with a one head or a one hat, and a staff or a wand. Okay, so this is Ecuador, a culture called. I don't have the name of the culture. I don't have the name of it, but it's from a site called Tumacolatolita. Just wanted to say that. It's obvious this guy's full of scales. He's got a tail. He's got the fangs. He's not human. He's like a crocodile god or something.
It's like the Indian bird god.
Garuda.
Yeah.
Garuda is the one who kills the Naga, the king of the Nagas as well. Is it Shiva's mount?
Statues of him everywhere. I mean, it looks just like that man.
Interesting that there's this duality between the bird and the serpent. And usually the bird eats the serpent, and you find this iconography in the Americas and all across Africa, Asia, Middle East. But the only place on earth where a serpent is eaten by a bird is in Africa. It's called the secretary bird.
In real life, I mean, that's
The only time that birds eat snakes is the secretary bird. Same culture, same thing, scaled being. This is like a Medusa. This is from Peru. It's got a snake-like hair.
Again, a pig, like pig tusks.
And the snout, yeah. This is like that bearded man from Nakada in Egypt. From the beginning, he's got his hands across his abdomen. He's got these hollow eyes.
And like I said, to say one of these cultures apparently spoke to each other, it's funny.
Yeah, so this is
nowadays they say it's collective consciousness and it's not your ideas that come.
And there's something that, to me, I think it's somewhere, there's a little bit of all of that in maybe the right answer. It's like David Icke says, and I'm not a big David Icke guy anymore, I used to be, but he says that these reptilians are interdimensional beings. And there's something about that kind of would help explain how they can pop up everywhere and look the same, they've got the same image. So these are from Costa Rica, about 500 BC up to 500 AD, a culture called the Guanacaste. You've seen the same symbols. elongated head, hands across the abdomen, hollow eyes. This is the one I was saying, looks like the Turkish. I can pull that up briefly. I think it's just the similar colours and shapes. This one on the left, you've got little pig snout, but it's got swastikas on the breasts, which is another symbol that you will find globally. This one on the right looks like it's got the tentacle arms to me. It's got a large childbearing hips. Same object from the side, you can see better here, it's got this hat or an elongated head. And it's sat in the same position. So same culture, Guanacaste, Costa Rica, and it's got the serpent-like spiral up the middle and the spots on the shoulders. I call this the Draco, the Guanacaste Draco. Interesting thing on this one is the tongue is 2 magic mushrooms. Magic mushrooms are really big in Native American, South American culture as a way to speak to the gods. I know that a lot of people take the DMT, which is a very powerful hallucinogen, will commune with a reptile-like being, a snake or a crocodile or something like that.
Pretty sure I've heard similar thing with ayahuasca.
Well, that's DMT again, it's the same thing. So this is from Colombia. These things to me, I call them baby eaters because they've all got these angry faces, sharp teeth, and they're all holding a small person. So I don't know if this is depicting giants or a cannibal or the reptilian who's meant to be hungry for blood in all the old stories. And we know in this part of the world they were huge on human sacrifice. I know when I was first reading this kind of stuff, I didn't want to believe that they were into human sacrifice. I felt like this was a racist attack by the Europeans who came to this part of the world. Who said, oh, they're all killing babies and doing this and that, but, we need to go and spread Christianity. And I thought it was just an excuse for colonialism. But in modern times, they've found the evidence, they've found things that suggest human sacrifice, they've found skeletons and remains that have shown throats have been cut, heads have been bashed in. We do know in some cases that it was sick people or prisoners and captives who were sacrificed. In some cases it was the children. And I think there was an estimate I read somewhere that 1/5 of all children in the Mayan culture, it might have been Aztec, 1/5 of all children born were sent off to be sacrificed to the gods.
Didn't it have to be the firstborn as well?
I'm not sure, it wouldn't surprise me. Because there's a myth that runs through a lot of these cultures that these beings, these snake-like beings, or these things that came from the heavens to the earth, are the firstborn, as elder creation, basically. Same thing, baby is from Colombia. But they've got the same eyes as these beings all around the world.
And they are making the human look like a human.
Like a human,
Yeah, and the human's a human. The human doesn't have fangs, it doesn't have those eyes, it is a human. So have anyone heard of the Olmec culture from Mexico? Yeah, they're famous for doing these giant stone heads that look like Africans in the middle of Mexico. It's the oldest classical civilization in the Americas, I believe. The date's on the Olmec. So
About 1400 BC.
1200 BC is the main. 1200 to 400 is the main bulk, but there's a continuity of culture that goes back to about 5000 BC. Yeah. So scholars believe that they came from people in that area 5,000 BC. But you're seeing the same things. This is Mexico now. Hands across the abdomen, triangles in the face, hollow eyes. And we've got Olmec, made out of jade. Hands across the abdomen, elongated head. Long face, sharp teeth, some big eyes. Same kind of things. These are all Olmec. The maddest thing about this one is the pine cone on the forehead. Which
Corn on the cob.
Corn on the cob. But it's a symbol you see a lot in India, Greece, Egypt, the pine cone being used for the pineal gland. It's not something that I don't think any scholars ever pointed out in the Americas, but it's there.
Could it not be corn, because that's where corn comes from, the Americans?
But I don't know any corn that's got that specific shape, but it could be.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
You know, I did call this culture did. I've got it written here. One of their main things that they cultivated rubber and maize and beans and squashes.
Why would they have had pine cones over there?
Well, that's what I'm not sure about.
Yeah.
Do they have pine trees in Mexico? I don't know. Google can tell you. So this is another one I was referring to earlier with the shaman. The Olmec shaman is either being swallowed by the snake or he's coming out of the snake. He's wrapped in his coils.
Oh yeah, with his head around,
He's coming out of that. Yeah.
I think it could even be a depiction of him beating a snake, like it's changing form.
I say it's possession. The snake's over him and around him. I would say when it's being the snake, it's a fusion like, you see the snake-like features within the man. But I think it's all the same idea anyway. It's all the same, trying to express the same thing. This was a stone rod that they think was used as like a symbol of kingship. You see it later in the Mayan, that they'd be given a staff when they became a king. And so, yeah, with the, yeah.
Say that, like with the stick on the end of it, like,
What's this with the Mayans?
yeah, they get hidden with their thing, like,
So we'll be looking at the god soon, shortly, the Mayan god that was on the staffs. He's got a snake leg. Got 5 minutes left.
Right, wrap up this with no everyone chat.
Yeah, man. So this is a dragon, Olmec dragon. Oh, we're going to go quick now, right? This is Chupacuaro, which is a Mayan, or it's contemporary with the Mayans. And this to me is almost identical to the stuff you see at the beginning I was showing you in the Middle East. Like identical. To the shape, head shapes, eye shapes, coffee bean eyes, spots on the shoulders, almost identical to the stuff that came before Sumeria in that part of the world. Okay, this is all Mexico, mother and child, got the necklace and the medallion just like in India and Eastern Europe, coffee bean eyes, spots on the shoulders, elongated heads. This guy's got a turban. Not sure if they wear turbans in Mexico, but someone was wearing it. Spots on the shoulders, but more of a humanoid form. Same things over and over again.
Why do you have a face? What about you have aliens?
What these?
No, it looks like it's got a face over on it.
Oh yeah. This is another one of the thinker types. Very long head, very sad looking fellow. This is more contemporary with later Maya stuff, early Aztec stuff.
It looks like it's got the Japanese, you know, the
And even the face looks almost like that. And it's interesting in the Americas, I believe you see several different facial types represented. You see African facial features, Oriental, European, and then Native Americans. You see them all there. Seems to have been a melting pot from then till now. Okay, so this is Mayan. Or is this Aztec?
It's kind of interesting that the people that you just mentioned, considering how America was actually built in more modern times.
Yeah.
But
But it's almost like it's to become the same thing again. And it's like a again. This is from Mexico, believe it or not. And this is, to me, it's just Ganesh from India. I've included it because of what I've been told by an Indian guy, a Hindu, about the Ganesh being representative of a snake. But you have 2 or 3 cases of elephant sculptures in the Americas when there's no elephants known in America at any period when humans are meant to have been in America.
big mammoths, though.
Yeah, that's humans were meant to be there at that time. So here's one from the late Mayan civilization, and I believe this is the closest you're going to get to seeing what these things actually are. I think it's... but he's got the necklace. He's got the 3 fingers and the 3 toes, which I believe link him to all these other things we've been looking at. He's also got his arm over the chief or the shaman, and it's like he's whispering into his ear. So this to me depicts the control or possession of this guy by this guy.
Do you not think they'll end up with the mother being with the serpent, if that makes, or is that definitely a male?
That's the man, that's the chief.
Yeah.
That's what the scholars believe.
It could be the woman being tricked by the man serpent.
It looks like early style goblin, so.
And I believe that's where a lot of the goblin, elf,
Yeah,
angel,
the
demon, they all come. Yeah, they've got the Phrygian cap almost,
Yeah.
which is a European thing. So this is the god we were just on about, Kawil, which is the snake leg guy.
And that's exactly like you
Yeah.
were saying in the book.
His leg is wrapping around the shaman or the priest or whatever he is.
That looks like a woman to me, man. Like he's got breasts, man.
I think that's a villain, but I don't know.
Yeah. You've been shown us too many breasts.
Same god, Kawil, and he was the one who was on the staff that was given to the Mayan kings and chiefs. So this is the Mexican crocodile. His scales are depicted as these spots, which I believe are all of those with the spots on the shoulders and spots across the upper body. They look like this. I believe that that's what they're representing as scales. Teomiqui, this is Aztec. Snake-like face. And this is the last one, Artefacts, Mexico, Veracruz. It's got the necklace, it's got the elongated face and the coffee bean eyes. So I hope in the future I'll be able to do a talk actually about dragons, but I wanted to lay the foundation for it all, and I'll be able to show you next time how the horns and the winged beings and the jinn of the Middle East have all descended from these areas where we find these ancient sculptures. This is from Iran, legend of Rustam slaying the dragon. This is an Indian dragon, where they use the stag for the horns, but it's got the scales on the body. This is Jason being spat out by the dragon, just like we saw the Mexican shaman coming out of the serpent's mouth. This is from Spain, China, and Japan. That's another common theme with dragon mythology, is the princess or the maiden and the dragon. There's always this link between the woman and the dragon.
Being sacrificed
Or being eaten or being in danger, or sometimes it's an ogre or a monster. But yeah, that's, I believe that's the end. Yeah, if anyone wants to ask anything, just ask. I can answer a lot of questions. If anyone's got any opinions or ideas, I'm welcome. Yeah, there's free refreshments.